guys, how's it going? I got a fun one for you today. From the Church of Our Lady of Tin in Prague to St.Michan's Church in Dublin, here are your top 10 terrifying churches that could be home to the devil. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have St.Michan's Church in Dublin. This may be a church surrounded by the artsy urban setting of Dublin, but if you go deep inside the church, you will find mummies. Yep, mummies. Its limestone vaults keep the air dry, which makes it the perfect holding area for preserving them. The church was built in 1095. Yep, old. And it is said to have likely been a temple burial site before it became a church. To paint a picture of the crypts of the church, they of course have stone walls, are extremely dusty, and they're filled with coffins. And probably the devil is hiding behind them. Cute story time. When my brother was young, he saw a poster of The Mummy, the movie, and he said to my dad, "Dad, what about the daddies?" And that's what I think about every time someone brings up mummies. Ah, my brain. Coming up in our number 9th spot today, we have the Duomo of Cosenza, Italy. We were bound to have one church from Italy in here, as, well, Italy is seemingly only churches. I did a bus tour throughout the country, so I would know. This is a church in an ancient part of Italy, and it is so old that nobody knows when it was built. You would think that archaeologists would be on that and figure it out by this point, but as such, they haven't figured it out quite yet. Probably because it is haunted. Dun dun dun, by Satan himself. The church became a cathedral around 1184, and its architecture is supposed to be a sight to see. The church also has many burials on site and is home to the bones of its first priest. Humans are fascinating. Do you ever think about why we keep the bones of something that once was in a box and then put under the earth so that we can visit the place where it was buried every year even though we can't see it? It's just a solution for our mind to be at peace with the concept of death. We're just fascinating. Okay, moving on to our next terrifying church. In the number 8th spot, we have the Church of the Assumption of Our Lady, Guadalajara, Mexico. But don't be fooled. It may look old and terrifying from the outside, but it is just as old and terrifying from the inside. However, it does have one really cool aesthetic that all the other churches are jealous of. On the perfect time of day, when the sun hits it on its right angle, the church's bricks seem to glow with a fiery orange, just representing the depths of hell itself. I'm just joking. Inside its walls, it has neo-Gothic vaults with impressive artwork from the modern and late medieval period. But it also has a beautiful collection of mummies on display. Among the bodies is a child who was killed for converting to Catholicism in the 1700s. There have been many people over the years that have claimed to see her eyes blink and her hair move. Not terrifying at all. Coming up in our 7th spot today, we have the St. Thomas Anglican Parish of Mulgoa, New South Wales, Australia. Yeah, this church reminds me of your classic horror movie church. Small, old, and just downright creepy. This church has a very dark history and continues to creep its locals and visitors alike. There is a legend that has 2 boys who died in a fire in the bell tower after a prank went horribly wrong. Since then, it is said that any kind of light angers the spirits of these boys. There have been many reports of lights going on and off, even including the lights of cars going on and off as drivers pass by the site. I wish I lived close to this place so I could try this out, because this sounds like a ghost hunter's gold mine. Coming up in our 6th spot today, we have St. Andrew's on the Red in Selkirk, Canada. This is the oldest church in Western Canada and was created in 1831, which compared to the St. Michan's Church created in 1095, it's not that old. But nevertheless, the devil may still house this creepy landmark. It is said that both the church and its graveyard are filled with restless spirits that had died from tuberculosis and many varieties of the influenza. It's also the resting place of a lot of the earlier settlers and HBC officers. Visit at your own risk. In our 5th spot today, we have St. Michael's Chapel in Hallstatt, Austria. A beautiful church surrounded by a truly spectacular view of the mountains and an alpine lake. But inside, you will find the largest collection of painted human skulls. I'm sorry, come again, Melissa? The largest collection, which means there are other collections out there. What on earth made someone look at a skull and think, yes, I think I should paint this? Just why? Someone out there is thinking, because art. This is also a chapel that was made during a time when Catholics believed that they had to be buried in a consecrated ground so that they could rise from their graves when the end of the earth came. Were they predicting a future apocalypse, aka Walking Dead style? Hopefully? Not hopefully. But since this was such a popular need, the graveyard actually became quite crowded. And so, as a result, naturally, they decided that the solution of storing bones for religious displays was a viable solution. As for the person who decided that painting those bones would be fun and aesthetically pleasing to see, we have no name. Satan sounds like a good name to me. In our fourth spot today, we have St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Key West, Florida. This beautiful white church may look sparkly and alluring from the outside, but you should know better by now. It's only so new because it's been rebuilt so many times, because it is cursed. The site was once a Seminole burial ground, and then the land was privately owned by the Fleming family before the church was built. It became a church as a result of the Fleming widow being assured that her husband's remains that were buried on the land would not be disturbed. But of course that promise was broken, and as a result, the ghost of John Williams Charles Fleming still haunts the site. I would have thought that it would be her that would haunt the site since it was her promise that was broken, but maybe that's just me. Coming up in our third spot today, we have the Norwich Cathedral in England. Built in the year 1096, this church has a very Gothic but yet Romanesque look. The area around this church is almost 1,000 years old, and as you can imagine, there have probably been a lot of ups and downs within these years. As a result of such a turbulent history, it is believed that there are many spirits wandering the surroundings. Some believe it to be previous bishops and priests and possibly nuns, and some believe it to be people who were burned at the stake. Personally, I think it's the latter. If I were burned at the stake, you better believe I'm coming back to haunt you. Gosh, I'm so glad to be living in 2022. In our second spot today, we have the Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland. Known for having the finest architecture in Scotland, the church was founded in the 15th century. There are many ghostly legends surrounding this church, including the White Lady, who was believed to have been cursed by an evil spirit and is waiting for her knight to save her. People have said to have seen a barking dog spirit and the ghost of many monks walking around. People that have worked on the building, especially in the crypt, have vowed to never work there ever again. So that's saying a lot. I mean, if I were going to pick a place that I would think the devil would be wandering in, this would be it. Finally, in our first spot today, we have a personal favorite of mine, the Church of Our Lady Before Tin in Prague, Czech Republic, or more commonly known as the Devil's Church. Yep, if that doesn't tell you everything, then I'm not sure what to tell you. I have actually personally visited this church and the underground of this church, and I have to say, it is truly anxiety-provoking. This church is a beautiful landmark in the center of Old Town Prague. Created in the 14th century, its look is quite the reflection of the times. Intimidating. Inside its walls are altar paintings and old Baroque designs. But of course, it is also the home to many tombs and burials and dark secrets. Some say many brutal killings and hangings have happened in and around this church. Makes you ask the age-old question, what is the point of worshiping the Bible if you ain't gonna practice its teachings? Humans are a mystery to me. That's all the time we have for you today. I'm Melissa Melotti, and see you next time.